Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimrandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshtarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So verse number 47. Apapeshu svabhratyeshu balena pakva buddhina papam kritam tad bhagwan sarvatma kshantum arhati. Apapeshu svabhratyeshu balena pakva buddhina papam kritam tad bhagwan sarvatma kshantum arhati. Apapeshu svabhratyeshu balena pakva buddhina papam kritam tad bhagwan sarvatma kshantum arhati. What word, translation, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Apapeshu, unto one who is completely free from all sins. Swabhratyeshu, unto one who is subordinate and deserves to be protected. Balena, by a child. Apakva, who is immature. Buddhina, by intelligence. Papam, sinful act. Kritam, has been done. Tat Bhagwan, therefore, the personality of Godhead. Sarva Atma, who is all pervading. Kshantum, just to pardon. Arhati, deserve. Translation. In this word to word also, when we recite this, it just gives a beautiful feeling, because a prayer is given, forgiveness is being asked for, in humility, one's son's immaturity is being, exposed and described. Wonderful word to word. Translation. Then the Rishi prayed to the all-pervading personality of Godhead to pardon his immature boy, who had no intelligence and who committed the great sin of cursing a person who was completely free from all sins, who was subordinate and who deserved to be protected. Everyone is responsible for his own action, either pious or sinful. Rishi Samika could foresee that his son had committed a great sin by cursing Mahārāja Parīkṣit, who deserved to be protected by the Brāhmanas, for he was a pious ruler and completely free from all sins because of his being a first-class devotee of the Lord. When an offense is done unto the devotee of the Lord, it is very difficult to overcome the reaction. I will repeat this. When an offense is done unto the devotee of the Lord, it is very difficult to overcome the reaction. The Brahmanas, being at the head of the social orders, are meant to give protection to their subordinates and not to curse them. There are occasions when a Brahmana may furiously curse a subordinate Kshatriya or Vaishya, etc. But in the case of Mahārāja Parīkṣit, there were no grounds, as already explained. The foolish boy had done it out of sheer vanity in being a Brahmana's son, and thus he became liable to be punished by the law of God. The Lord never forgives a person who condemns his pure devotee. Therefore, by cursing a king, the foolish Shringi had committed not only a sin, but also the greatest offense. I'll repeat this again. Therefore, by cursing a king, the foolish Shringi had committed not only a sin, but also the greatest offense. Therefore, the Rishi could foresee that only the Supreme Personality of Godhead could save his boy from his sinful act. He therefore directly prayed for pardon from the Supreme Lord, who alone can undo a thing which is impossible to change. The appeal was made in the name of a foolish boy who had developed no intelligence at all. A question may be raised herein that since it was the desire of the Lord that Parīkṣit Maharaj be put into that awkward position so that he might be delivered from material existence, then why a Brahmana's son made responsible for this offensive act? The answer is that the offensive act was performed by a child only so that he could be excused very easily, and thus the prayer of the father was accepted. But if the question is raised, why the Brahmana community as a whole was made responsible for allowing Kali into the world affairs, the answer is given in the Varaha Purana, that the demons who acted inimically toward the personality of Godhead but were not killed by the Lord were allowed to take birth in the families of Brahmanas to take advantage of the age of Kali. The all-merciful Lord gave them a chance to have their births in the families of pure pious Brahmanas so that they could progress towards salvation. But the demons, instead of utilizing the good opportunity, misused the Brahminical culture due to being puffed up by vanity in becoming Brahmanas. The typical example is the son of Shamika Rishi, and all the foolish sons of Brahmanas are warned hereby not to become as foolish as Shringi and to be always on guard against the demoniac qualities which they had in their previous births. The foolish boy was, of course, excused by the Lord, but others who may not have a father like Shamika Rishi will be put into great difficulty if they misuse the advantages obtained by birth in a Brahmana family. Such a wonderful purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhakti Vedanta purports ki jai. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Then the Rishi prayed to the all-pervading personality of Godhead to pardon his immature boy who had no intelligence and who committed the great sin of cursing a person who was completely free from all sins, who was subordinate and who deserved to be protected. In the purport, I repeated two sentences. One was, when an offense is done unto the devotee of the Lord, it is very difficult to overcome the reaction. So we have to be very careful. I heard when I joined the movement that anyone who comes to the temple, bows down in front of Prabhupada, bows down in front of the deities, is a devotee of the Lord. So then we have to be very careful when we deal with anyone and everyone. Of course, generally in the beginning, we treat people very nicely, but when, we become familiar with them, then the familiarity breeds contempt, and then we start, taking things lightly, the guard drops, and then, the offense is being done. We have to be very, very careful. One devotee, he says, he took a vow of not offending any devotee for 1 month in Kartik, not even in jest. That means not even jokingly. And they found it such hard act that to offend a devotee is a very difficult one. So in this purport, the first paragraph, Prabhupada is very beautifully comparing the rule of law versus the rule of love. In, I think, 72 or 73, when the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Shivashagar Ramagulam, when he invited Srila Prabhupada to come and do festivals in his country, Prabhupada in the letter back, he wrote that a civil society cannot be made just by law. It has to be made also by love. So even though the first sentence here, Prabhupada says here, everyone is responsible for his own action, either pious or sinful, but then we also see that Shringi has done the crime, but Shamika Rishi is praying to the Lord for Shringi. Beautiful. Just see the nuances of spiritual life. And we have to understand these nuances when we hear from the scriptures the various leelas of Vaishnava aparad or aparad to the Lord. We have to understand, exactly in each and every leela, what is the context, what is the message for us, why Indra in his Indra Vimohan leela is being treated differently than Brahma in Brahma Vimohan leela. Also, in the case of Vaishnava aparad, here Prabhupada mentions that Shringi committed a Vaishnava aparad against Mahārāja Parīkṣit. And Prabhupada says, so many ways that yes, there are occasions where Brahmanas can curse, a subordinate Kshatriya and Vaishya. But here in this case, there was no reason at all for Shringi to curse Maharaj Parīkṣit. And then Prabhupada makes a very nice statement. He says that therefore by cursing a king, the foolish Shringi had committed not only a sin, but also the greatest offense. Now, many of us, we might not know the difference between sin and offense, the pap and aparad. Pap is, okay, it's bad, but it's not so dangerous. Aparad, on the other hand, is very, very dangerous. And aparad is very dangerous to our spiritual progress, because aparad destroys the devotional seed or plant within our heart. So sin is a little less perilous. It's not so bad. Yes, by sin you are falling into ignorance again, and then more sinful activities like that. But aparad also, the word, it is, one of the meanings is that aparadha. It is an act against Srimati Radharani. And, an act against Srimati Radharani, Krishna, of course, is not going to pardon that. So, when we commit a pap, consciously or unconsciously, generally it leads to more sinful activity. But the aparad, it's a deviation, and it is very detrimental to the devotional service, especially aparad against the holy name, against the Lord, and most specifically against the Vaishnavas. The aparad against the holy name can be mitigated by chanting more names, but the only recourse for mitigating the aparad against the devotee is to go back and ask for forgiveness with very, very humble heart. You cannot just make a show of asking forgiveness, have your false ego in place, and ask for forgiveness. No. Just hear the story. There's a story where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, he told his own mother, Sachi Mata. Now, Sachi Mata is a wonderful, pure, exalted devotee who is the mother of the Lord. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Sachi Mata that you will not be able to go back to Godhead because you have offended a devotee. Sachi Mata is thinking, what have I done? I don't think I've offended any devotee. So then she asks Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, says, my Lord, I know that, but I'm very frightened. Please explain to me, please tell me what aparad I have done. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains Sachi Mata that when my brother, your son, Vishwarup, when he took sannyas, in your mind, not even in words by action, but in your mind, you offended Advaitacharya. You blamed Advaitacharya for Vishwarup taking sannyas and going away from you. Why? Because Vishwarup was associating with Advaitacharya. He used to go to his house every day, hear Srimad Bhāgavatam, do Krishna Kirtan, and by that, he became detached from the material life, from the worldly life, and then he took sannyas. And you blamed in your mind Advaitacharya for that. So you have to go and ask for forgiveness. Sachi Mata is saying, Are bhai, how can I do that? Advaitacharya, he treats me as his mother because I am your mother. He will never allow me to touch his lotus feet. He will never allow me to take the dust of his lotus feet. What should I do? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then he shows a trick to Sachi Mata. He says, when I go to Advaitacharya's house, I will show him my full opulence. And then when he sees my full opulence, he will offer his prostrated obeisances, his dandavats to me. When he is offering his prostrated obeisances to me, you quietly go behind his back, come out from the back, and then take the dust of his lotus feet. Exactly this is what happens. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes, he shows his opulences. Advaitacharya is very much, completely, he becomes emotional. He falls down at his lotus feet. He just cannot control his emotions. Tears are flowing from his eyes, and he just forgets the surrounding atmosphere. Sachi Mata comes from behind and takes the dust of Advaitacharya's lotus feet. And then when Advaitacharya realizes what has happened, he gets upset, my Lord, what has happened? I am the big offender. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very, very lovingly explains to Advaitacharya that Sachi Mata, my own mother, had offended you, and this is the only way she could come out of that offense. So this is the gravity of a Vaishnava offense. So we have to be very careful of not even offending a Vaishnava in our minds. These offenses cannot be just gross offenses. Very subtly also, when you offend a devotee. Sometimes, as we know, in one of the types of conversation, which is a vada, where one person is trying to portray themselves greater than the others by subtly putting the other person down. Right? So this also we have to avoid very carefully. So many types of aparadha there. It is better to take a cautious position and just be respectful, in every possible way, in our words, in our minds, with our body, with our actions. Can we be respectful? Can we give the benefit of doubt to the other person when we are working together? Otherwise, it will completely destroy the seed and the plant of the devotional service in our hearts. Prabhupada also makes another point here. We see, of course, that the various leelas of Vaishnava Aparadha. Here, Shringi is committing a grave Vaishnava Aparadha, but Lord very kindly accepts the prayers of Shamika Rishi. Now, it's interesting here, because generally, when you are committing a Vaishnava Aparadha, the person who's the offender, he has to go and ask for forgiveness. But here, Shamika Rishi is allowed, and Prabhupada says in the second paragraph that because of the foolishness of the boy, because he was a young boy, because he was a Brāhmaṇa boy, the Lord accepted his prayers and pardoned Shringi. We see in the case of Ambarish Mahārāja, Durvasa Muni, he was chased by Sudarshan Chakra. He was chased till the end of the universe. Even when he went to Lord Vishnu, he was not pardoned. He says the only solace you have, the only remedy you have by which you can mitigate your aparadha is go back to Ambarish Mahārāja. Now, just imagine Vaishnava aparadha, then you have Dham aparadha, then you have Nam aparadha, then you have aparadha to the Lord. Indra did a grave offense to the Lord. And not only he did a grave offense to the Lord, he also put these Vrajvasis to a great inconvenience. But of course, as we see from the commentaries of the Acharyas, that because of this event, because of this offense committed by Indra, the Brajvasis also had a very good opportunity to be with Krishna for 7 days and 7 nights when the Govardhan Leela was going on. So because of that, Indra's offense was a little bit downgraded. But still, he could not go on his own and ask for forgiveness from Krishna. He was very much afraid that what will Krishna think? I have given so much inconvenience to the Brajvasis. They're so much dear to Krishna. They are dear to Krishna more than his life, own life and soul. And then he has Mother Surbhi, the Surbhi cow, in front of him. And then Surbhi tries to pacify Krishna. In case of Brahma also, Brahma, he offended Krishna. And Krishna for a long time neglected Brahma. He says, no, you have not committed any offense. I am not Krishna, I am not Narayan, I am not Lord. You go about you doing your job and I'll do my job. I'm just a cowherd boy. But Brahma realizes, yes, this is my Lord. And, he asks for forgiveness again and again and again. Various instances where we have to understand the nuances, the context of these Vaishnava Aparadha. Now we also understand that Brahmanas are the highest in the ladder. The Kshatriyas are the next, and Vaishyas are the next, and the Shudras are the lowest. So Brahmanas have to be very careful with the authority which they have. As we know, in any corporate environment, and so also in a spiritual environment, with authority comes responsibility. This is very important. With authority comes responsibility. When we have some authority, we should be more responsible. Now let's look at it from a two-way street, a double, from the two angles. We're talking of a spiritual leader in an organization, especially in a voluntary organization like our Hare Krishna movement. So we have spiritual leaders. And then we have, general people following, there are devotees who are coming up nicely. One question can I ask everyone? Are the leaders allowed to make mistakes? Here we see that Parīkṣit Mahārāja, of course, Prabhupada gives various reasons. If you see when Shamika Rishi starts talking, he's not even considering the offense of putting a dead snake around him very seriously. He's just, taking it out. Okay, I was in my trance. The snake would have come. He would have died there. No problem at all. But then when he hears from Shingi what happens, then he starts explaining that, listen, my son, you have made a grave mistake. He's a person, he's a leader who should not be cursed at all. He should not be condemned at all. He's such a pure devotee. But still, we see here that Parīkṣit Mahārāja, of course, Prabhupada says because of the Lord's will, he made a mistake. So are spiritual leaders allowed to make mistakes? Please understand that spiritual leaders, especially in a voluntary organization, take great responsibility. Take great responsibility not only for their own progress in spiritual life, but for the progress of spiritual life of many, many others. So we cannot be just being judgmental, making judgment, passing judgments that this person did this, and one small mistake, and we just start coming up with our microscopes. No. Keshav Maharaj gives a very nice analogy of the pigeons. They say when the pigeons are flying, the leader pigeon, when he's in the front, the pigeons who are at the back, they do two things. First thing is the senior leaders, the senior pigeons who are there, because of their experience, because of their age and all that, they keep quacking. Quacking means they keep inspiring the leaders. So somehow, when we are there, we should inspire the leaders. We should praise the leaders. We should appreciate the services which they're doing. And then, second thing what they do is, from time to time, they give a break to the spiritual leaders, to the one who's in the front, and they take the position of spiritual leaders. So this is the way we can also understand as being juniors, our gurus, Prabhupada, they took so much leadership. We have to make sure that, yes, we serve everyone nicely. We also take position of spiritual leadership from time to time. And we see in our community in Burbank, this is happening so nicely. We've got, different teams, different devotees are coming up. They're taking leadership qualities. And then they're also giving breaks to others. They're taking breaks themselves. Prabhupada used to take breaks. Now, Prabhupada, when he had too much of management, he had too much of dealing with devotees, immature devotees' emotions, he will take a break for a few weeks, for a month, and then he'll just start translating, he'll just start writing. So this way, when we understand that, yes, everyone, we should work in a way, as Keshav Maharaj gives example of the science of flying of pigeons, that we should, inspire each other. We should not see each other's faults. Of course, when there's a place for correction has to be done. But for correction also to happen, you need two things. The person who's correcting someone else needs two things very much. You need to have authority, and you need to have influence. If you have if you don't have either of this, it won't be that effective. You have authority, which is like the operational authority, and then you have the spiritual influence that based on your relationship with someone else, when you have influence on that other person, then you can correct them. And also, as we know, Prabhupada gave us the science of the art of correcting someone. It's what we call a sandwich formula. We go and put a bread in the bottom, so praise someone. Then we have the filling, which is the correction, and then we have a bread on top again, which is again some praise. So when we need to correct someone, we appreciate someone, we correct that person, and then again appreciate that person, so that the hearts are together. We are appreciating each other very nicely, and then the person who's being corrected also understands that, yes, it is not only my mistakes are being pointed out, but they see my work, they're appreciating my work also. We have to really work on our internal demons. This is what conditioning is. It's not just that Haribol, I'm being humble and all that. No, 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 no. We have to really think deeply when we are um, uh, uh, working on these interpersonal dynamics. Because please understand that this is a spiritual context. Even in a paid environment, in our corporate environment, people deal with each other nicely. But here we have to understand that, yes, I want to give I've repeated this a few times, but I just love this Bhakti Tirtha Swami's 4 pillars of community building. 4 pillars of community building. The first pillar is that treat everyone as if your spiritual life depends on it. Treat everyone as if your spiritual life depends on it. So when we understand that my spiritual life is depending on everyone else I work with, everyone else who helps me, everyone else who doesn't help me also because of their commitment, but my spiritual life is dependent on this relationship. Now, this principle of treating everyone as if our spiritual life depends on it, what it does is it actually highlights the profound impact that our interactions are with others. So when we interact with each other, when we follow this principle, it has an impact on our spiritual growth and well-being. Why? Because then we'll not offend anyone else. We'll respect anyone because we know our own spiritual life depends on the relationship with others which I have. Second one is we extend the love to everyone as we love our dearest. In our families, we love our families. We love our parents. We love all our relationships. So even in our spiritual environment, we should extend the same love as we extend to the dearest families, the dearest relatives. Now, what does this do? This actually encourages a very wonderful universal application of love. Yeah. And our affection for each other very much increases, and then we can relish this. Why? Because we understand that each one of us are working selflessly. Imagine here, we are not getting paid. Everyone is working unconditionally, especially someone like Aarti Priya Mataji, a person who's heading the devotee care department. She's working selflessly. Anyone who approaches her, and she makes sure that that person is being taken care of. So the selfless and unconditional care is given. And when we love each one of us in this manner, then we can make sure that this is taken care of. The third one is very important. Please hear very carefully. The third pillar of community building: view all conflicts as your fault first. Generally, it's the other way around. We always try to, not many grossly, but certainly try to find a fault in others. But here, Bhakti Tirtha Swami says, view all conflicts as your fault first. Now, this will, of course, promote responsibility in ourselves and a very humble attitude when disagreements arise. We examine our own roles in any issue which happens before we assign blame to the others. And then last one is, we recognize the enduring significance of the relationships. We have seen also in spiritual life, relationships come and go. But if we follow these principles, we will recognize that these relationships are going to last long. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami says that the person who you are blaming now, or who you are criticizing now, or you are offending now, might be the same person who is chanting Hare Krishna when you are leaving your body. So we have to understand the enduring significance of our relationships. I will end with a little analogy. Is what we call a snow story. When snow falls, there might be flakes of small snow, and there might be big, like hailstorms, right? Now we understand that, one of the experts, they mention that these small flakes, they are the one which actually make the big impact. Larger flakes have got more water and generally don't stay. So for us, we keep on adding our spiritual practices in small flakes. Keep adding, keep doing, keep adding, keep doing, keep adding, keep doing. So when we add these small flakes of spiritual practices, which will give you enough whiteness at the end of few years. And we should make sure that these snowflakes continue to fall like our spiritual practices, which will uncover the layers and layers of the dust from our material desires, hopes, and dreams. So regularly Bhagavad Katha, chanting of Hare Krishna, studying of Srila Prabhupada's books, honoring Prasadam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any questions, comments, reflections, realizations? Please unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was just a little bit shocked by something in the purport, the statement Prabhupada makes when he says, the Lord never forgives a person who condemns his pure devotee. Raised as a Catholic, I was always taught that the Lord is all forgiving. So just a question then, if the Lord doesn't forgive, how do we gain the Lord's forgiveness if we have offended a pure devotee? You mentioned that to apologize to the devotee and try and get their forgiveness first. Does that guarantee then that we get the forgiveness of the Lord, or we never do? Thank you.
No, you definitely get the forgiveness of the Lord. It's a very wonderful question. The solution also is given that when we go and ask for forgiveness, but we also have to understand that we have to be really repentant. Many times our false ego also plays when we are asking for forgiveness. But if we have understood that I made a big offense, small offense, I made a mistake. Recently, I got a message from a devotee, Dayal Gauranga, Daniel, who just randomly asked for forgiveness. I said, Prabhu, I have not even interacted with you. He said he felt that Krishna has withdrawn his mercy. And then when he consulted some devotees, they said that you might have offended some devotees. So he just messaged some devotees and asked for forgiveness. Also, a Vaishnava, he never sees any offense. So that's the other side. From our side, we have made an offense, but a Vaishnava never sees any offense. Just to teach a lesson, Vaishnava will, give you some instructions. But otherwise, generally, Vaishnava, he's never sees an offense. So from our side, we ask for forgiveness. And because the Vaishnava has not seen an offense, he will eventually forgive, and then the Lord forgives. So that's how the mechanism works. Does it make sense, Prabhu?
It does. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for a lovely class.
It's a very, very beautiful spiritual dynamics. And when we understand this, that yes, it is actually very loving and very simple. Let my false ego not come in the way, everything wonderful happens. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
It does. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything? We've gone a lot over the limit.
Yeah.
But we can dissect our hearts here. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for so many valuable points. I think I'll have to listen to this class few times to, keep hearing and contemplate. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Any questions? Anyone else? Anyone wants to share something? Okay. Very wonderful day. Have a Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. May you all have a very wonderful devotional day, free of all the offenses. Respect everyone else in your mind, hearts, and words. And we'll see you tomorrow, Krishna willing, same time at 6:30. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. That's a beautiful class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Thank you very much.